all, everyone is present. We have a quorum. We have a verification of the posting today, Jackie.
Yes, I have it at the front door, the post office, and the grocery store, and I have pictures if anybody wants pictures.
Thank you. Let's move to the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any comments about the agenda tonight?
The only comment I have is that, in the minutes, what I wrote was that we would again discuss the volunteer policy, at this meeting, but that did not make it to the agenda. So we won't be able to talk about that tonight. So they'll just, I assume they'll hold it over.
Okay, so the agenda is approved. Guest comments tonight. I'd like to invite anybody that has a guest comment and or anybody that might be online, Jackie, that might have a guest comment.
No one at the moment.
We welcome it. Anybody?
And are you still adamant that I may not leave the board temporarily to make a guest comment and then come back on the board? And if so, what are you basing that on? What exact rule of Robert's rules are you basing that on?
We're going to have that as it's an agenda item tonight, so we'll come back to that and discuss it tonight as a board. That topic, which we said that we would do, and we'll have a chance to talk about that tonight. Okay, let's move on to item 7, verification of Zoom. Do we have some people on Zoom tonight?
Not at the moment.
Okay. And Jackie, is there any correspondence to the board this month? This
No,
past
there
month?
wasn't any correspondence.
No correspondence. Anybody else want to share any correspondence they may have received? Okay. Let's move to item 9, the approval of the minutes. Take a moment and look over those minutes that David has worked on. Any comments?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
For the second?
I'll second it.
For the second for that. Any further discussion on the minutes from last month, December 18th? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. Okay, great. We'll move on to my report. A couple of things that I'd like to mention is that we do not have any new information from the town board about concerning any additional board members at this time. When that happens, I will certainly inform everyone of what that status is as we move forward. Secondly, we'll have a, yeah.
Did they tell you that, did the town board tell you, or Mr. Stefanowitz tell you, when they would do it? Or is he going to notify you when it happens?
He's going to notify me when it happens. It's a good thing for me to just follow up on now with him to see if there's anything new, but my last conversation was that there's not anything new at this time. And he would notify us as a board when that happens. Secondly, there is we'll be having a closed session briefly today to talk about some personnel matters, so at the end of this meeting, we'll have a short closed session. The next thing is the volunteer, so David already mentioned this, is that the volunteer thing, will just have to go to final approval of that for next month. I think that's all I have for my report. Friends of the Library.
Jane isn't here, but she said there's nothing to report.
Got it. Thank you. Secretary's report.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report, thank you. Treasurer report.
I'm happy to report that I finally got, Jackie spent some time with me and I clearly understand what I'm supposed to do. So I did get caught up. You should have in front of you, the reports from October, November, and December where I found that I balanced exactly with Jackie. Way to go.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure about bills that need to be approved.
Normally we would approve it, yeah. Approve the treasurer's report.
Right, but it
Okay.
says also bills to be approved.
Oh, bills to be approved, yes.
Is that you or is
Yeah,
that me?
I have
That's what
those here,
Jackie will do.
Okay,
I have just, yes, a few of them here.
okay.
The Smithsonian, we're continuing with that magazine for $15. Baker and Taylor, where we get a majority of our books from, have a bill for $258.47. Cengage, we are on a standing order plan where we get 1 to 2 large print books a month, and that is $82. Innovative, we were out of paper and liquid cover up, so those we ordered and it's $103. And then Midwest Tape were movies that we have purchased over the last year, or last month or so. And that was $319.34.
Jackie, I see there's 2 charges for coffee makers? Is what
Yes, we were a pass-through for the people-to-people group that they started down at the community center. And they paid us, I received the funds today for those 2 coffee makers.
Awesome.
And Squarespace is our website.
Yes.
Is that an annual?
That's an annual fee, yeah.
That's an annual fee
We,
that we have here for this month.
We pay for that, and it also includes our website as well as the donation, transfer of funding that we receive periodically when people donate online,
I see.
which is Stripe, but it's all included in there.
Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report? And the bills to be approved?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and the bills to be approved.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a second. David? Motion by Jan. Any further discussion about the treasurer's report? All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
One no. Okay. Library, director
Okay,
report.
we're on our second week of Sled Dog movies. Last week we had Balto on Saturday, and we had 10 people come to that. We had some issues with sound, so this week we are going to be having snow dogs with Cuba Gooding Jr., but we have improved sound using the computer as well as our Bluetooth speaker, so it'll be able to provide even those that have hearing troubles with enough sound to understand what's going on. We are going to be also showing on the final movie, which will be the 25th, will be Iron Will, and that again is at 1 o'clock. We are hoping that the stand-in for the lead actor, I can't remember her name, but she went by the name of Iron Wilma, might be coming to talk about what it was like to be on the movie and get a feel for that. But either way, we are going to be having beverages and popcorn and a small prize as well as an opportunity after the 3 to win. The actual sled dog prize, I don't know if it's going to be a hat, shirt, sweatshirt, something, some sort of memorabilia from the actual sled dog race. So that'll be coming on the 25th. We also have another sled dog event on the 5th of February. We're going to be having a story time on sled dogs. And Bonnie, who has 5 retired sled dogs, she's going to be bringing 1 or 2 of her actual dogs with. And of course, they will have to make an entrance later because I will lose all attention. I understand the draw. So another story time we're going to be doing on January 27th. It is National Chocolate Cake Day. Now, I don't usually like to have programs on Monday night, but it's National Chocolate Cake Day, so we're doing that. We're gonna have a chocolate story time, and there's also gonna be a stuffed animal sleepover, so I'm sure they will be up to no good once their people move. So, then we have 3 book clubs this month. Tomorrow, on January 16th, the evening book club is gonna be discussing The Error Fair by Jasper Fjord. And then on the 28th, which is a Tuesday at 1 p.m., we are going to be discussing The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. Both of those are open to anybody. Guess additional people are always welcome. We always have plenty of copies of both books up at the counter so people can grab one. Even if they don't come to the meeting, they can still enjoy the book. And finally, we have a tentative date of January 24th for the middle school book discussion. The students were very excited. They chose 3 of the 5 books that I brought to them. So we're going to be discussing Red Wall by Brian Jacques, Heroes by Alan Granz, and Amal Unbound by Ayesha Saeed. So, and that will be all that's going on for the month of January.
Busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a
We
lot.
like to keep ourselves busy.
And we hope they have the sled dog race.
I hope so too. I've
Soon.
heard, someone did tell me that the decision is supposed to be made tomorrow, whether it's gonna go through or not. Cause they need 18 inches of packed snow.
Oh dear.
Oh.
Yeah, and, it's not looking promising, but, you know, maybe, there's a big huge snowstorm coming that I didn't see on the radar yet, so.
And when the sled dogs come here, do they do a demo or anything?
Well, we've had a sled dog here before when the Martins came. They brought the sled and all the equipment, and they got to meet the dog, who's, she stole the show again. But, these, I don't know if we're gonna actually have a demonstration quite so much, but they are gonna be able to meet some retired sled dogs, cause, as retired people, these dogs are learning to appreciate the good life of luxury, of warmth, and soft beds. And I don't know if they're gonna be real hip on getting that. Cause yeah, I really wanted to have like a dog and a sled for kids to try out, but we're doing the chill out with the big retired ones.
You know, what about, I'm just thinking, if it doesn't go through, what about Julie Buckles and or Charlie Ray? They're sled dog people who live in Bayfield, who Julie, like, wrote a book about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would
So-
be something we could talk, and if it doesn't go through, we could still maybe do some
Have
sort of a
somebody come
sled dog
and, maybe they have,
demonstration.
I don't know if they're
It's the
still
race,
sled dog, doing that sled dog work, but they might have some of the equipment still, and they might, who knows, you know, they
Yeah,
could come and
that'd be
show
fun.
and tell or something.
I think it would be very enjoyable, and like I said, if it's one dog and one sled pulling people around.
Around our property, the
Yeah,
property.
on the property across the, I mean, there's enough snow, I think, for a mini sled run, that would be fun, yeah,
Oh,
I think so too. Any other questions?
You also have the tree. I don't know if I can talk. Can I talk? Can I talk?
Well,
No?
let's just move on. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'll talk to you.
Okay, so let's move, any other questions for Jackie from the board? Let's talk about just snow shoveling for just 1 minute. And that was just something that came up before both Jackie and I have received an email from the town board chair, and they're going to be looking into it and really talking about it as part of the budget discussion at the town in the next couple of weeks, which Jackie and I will be going to meet with the town board about that and discuss where that might fit in terms of shoveling. And so they've received an email about the budget considerations and the safety issues and so on of good shoveling. I know we already have somebody doing it, but it's also coming out of our budget, so we'll just see what the town does as they're really willing to work through it within the budget system, so happy about that.
Great.
I have it as an item in case there's any discussion. Anybody have anything they wanna say before we move on? Okay, this is the acceptable use policy that we have that for people to sign the internet, and I really appreciate that Jackie and the staff have taken the existing one and completely redone it. And you wanna just talk a little bit about it, Jackie?
Okay.
And if you don't have a chance to, haven't had a chance to really look through it, if we need more time, we can always approve this at the next meeting if you feel more comfortable doing that.
Okay. All the parts that I have crossed off, I felt were a bit redundant, or we have, as a society, have moved past the need for. We are glad to provide any type of training for members that request internet safety, effectiveness, and efficient manner. But they just need to request it. I mean, so many kids today have their own phones that I'm presuming their parent our guardian has given them whatever tutorials they want when they give them the phone. But again, we are always happy to provide more information. The access to minors, the cross off for my rules for online safety was because that site is no longer valid. The information is still up to date on the safekids.com/child safety on the information highway. So that we updated. And it's highlighted in yellow because the website link changed just a little bit, but it's a valid one. In the next paragraph, the white part, of course, was part of the original document. The part that I added was the gold part, of course. We have software on all our computers, it's called Pharos. It will not allow any person on that computer that does not have a library card with permission to use a computer. The parent, when they get their child a library card, one of the things we always ask is, do you want your child to be on the computer? And if they say yes, then we have them sign this document. If they say no, we put a big N in this one line, and the child is not allowed to get on the computers with their library card. Now, what they get onto, if they have their own device in the building, that we can't stop, because that is something that was given to them in a different locality. And when I see it, I've had in the past 1 or 2 times a child that's not allowed on the internet to be sitting with a buddy that is allowed on the internet. And I do mention that because so-and-so doesn't have parents' permission, they cannot even sit by their buddy at the computers. So we haven't had a lot of that of late. It's mostly, like I said, kids have their own internet connection already when they come
It's on their phone or something like that.
Yeah, so, but if it does happen, I do put a stop to it because I need to have the parents'
So
permission.
when somebody, including a child, comes in to use the computers, they have to sign in at the desk?
As adults or minor?
A minor.
Minor. If they already have their library card, they don't. But they have to have their library card number in order to log into the computer.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
saying.
So it'll stop them if their parent has not given them permission.
Or their friend has,
Or, yeah,
their
or
friend
kids.
has given them their number.
Right. So too. And we also, and for those kids that come into the building that don't have their parent permission, we do have 3 iPads for the educational games, and the kids can go on that, and there is no active, I mean, it's part of the internet to play with the games, but it doesn't allow the child to go outside the games to connect to other topics on the internet.
Only only the software that's on that iPad.
Right, and that's all they're allowed to do, so. The other part was, again, a little bit redundant, so that was crossed off, and a lot of that information about training for programs and safety is also handled by the school as well as the parent. And again, when they have their own devices, the majority of young people that come in, especially teens, already have their own devices, so they don't need to be on our computers, and they don't need our permission to sign on because they have that with their own devices. We left in the rules or safety guidelines just because they're still valid, and if people need a reminder, they are there. We did take out, oh, that's on the next page, sorry. We added the line under public user security about our computers having current, up-to-date security, but that no security is foolproof. I have been told by many computer people that if somebody wants to get in there, they will find a way eventually. But, you know, we do the best we can with what we have, so. The compliance issue, I took that out again because, we have that said several times in this document. The information about the Library Bill of Rights and freedom to read is still valid, so we left that in. And then of the acceptable use, again, we kept that all in. We took all the unacceptable use out, cause we didn't wanna give people ideas, and B, a lot of that is kind of things that a lot of the populace now knows firsthand about, you know, not providing, a lot of information online and such like that. And again, hopefully, when a young person comes in, they have had that talk with their adult person, and they know not to put all that stuff online. The policy subject to revision, as is a policy with every other policy of the library has the right to review that, and I don't know if we necessarily need to state that. And I took out the credits because, we've edited it a lot, and things have changed a lot in when this document was created back in 2003, and I don't know if the New York Public Library really has anything similar to this anymore either, so. And so that's what we have done. I'm hoping that meets the board's approval. I will take any and all comments and extensions as the board needs, and get that up to date whenever you have approved it.
So I have a question about the unacceptable use part of it. The portion after that where it says, violations may result in loss of access, unlawful activities, is that sort of, did you just add that part, or was that in there before as well?
That was in there before.
And so can you just remind me of why that's not it, why we don't have the unacceptable use anymore?
Oh, I mean, with that,
Yeah,
right,
I
took
mean,
that part out.
it sort of says that violations and then unlawful activities, which you're not supposed to do unlawful activities. And it seems to me that this whole section above it sort of describes what those
Unlawful
are.
activities could be.
Yeah,
From the point of my education, I was taught that what people do on the computer as adults and or minors who have permission is none of my business. It comes down to their behavior. If their behavior is appropriate, they're sitting at the computer, they're sitting quietly doing whatever they're doing, it's none of my business what is going on the screen. That is the way I have been taught when it comes to dealing with computers. Now, if there is a person at the computer looking at pornography, which I don't know, but they're starting to do some interesting behavior, then that's when I have to step in and remind them that this is a public entity and that they have to be able to, provide or have a set of rules and decorum that they need to follow as being in a public location.
You mentioned that society had moved on. Can you define that for me?
Well, when people come in here to use the computers, the majority of the people that come on the computers are already adults. And they are familiar with how to log on, how to print things, how to figure out what they need to do. If they don't, they come and ask us. But a lot of times, those individuals that like to maybe have too much time in their hands and are thinking of nefarious activities, they already have their stuff. They're sitting at home in their own house doing whatever they do because they probably have as much or better equipment than we at the library have. Many young people come into the building already have cell phones and iPads and everything else that they don't even need our computers. So I guess I feel like that has society, the majority of society understands what to do with the computer and what not to do with the computer. And those that don't are being taught in the schools and or by their parents when they get their electronic device at home.
You also, I mean, I'm old, maybe my memory's not quite, but a minor can come in and get any book they want to, right?
Correct.
And you can't put down on their file, no, if their parents object, right?
Their parent has the right to take away their library card from them from the age of 18 or less than 18 on. If they want to find out what their child is reading or checking out, up until they're 16, I can tell them over the phone. Once they hit 16, the government has put in stipulations for privacy that children 16 and over, I cannot let their parents know what they're checking out. They still have to pay the bill, but they don't get to know what their child is checking out if their child doesn't tell them.
But that doesn't apply to the computers.
The computers are set up to have a function and allows us to prevent them from going on the computers if the parent doesn't want them. But that does not violate their First Amendment rights because using the computer is something that is not considered a born right.
Yes.
Other comments?
If it's appropriate, I think I've had a chance to look at it, I appreciate the work that went into it. So I would make a motion that we approve this policy as written and distributed and explained.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the policy on public use of the internet and acceptable internet standards, which is a really long title. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving this policy, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I am saying no because there seems to be a double standard. And I would somehow like that to be corrected. And on the other hand, I'm not always sure that decisions made about society are correct. So it'd be nice to have some input into that. So my vote is no.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the library board members speaking during public comments. So this has come up several times. I forgot to put it on the last month's agenda, so it's on this month's agenda as an agenda item so that the board may discuss this and weigh in on what the overall thoughts are of the board about a person on the board removing themselves from the board temporarily and becoming a person in the audience and giving comments. So I'd like to open that up for discussion and hear what your thoughts are about that issue.
Well, I think the deck is already stacked against me. Let me just say that it seems strange to me that the town board would allow something that the president of this board ignores or decides against. And it causes me to wonder why. It just, it just strikes me that it should be consistent. And if we're not allowed to in this board, then maybe we ought to go to the town board and tell them it's not allowed there either. There should be some consistency if we're all using Robert's rules. And that's all I gotta say.
Could I just ask a follow-up of what you just said? Do you have some data or information other than the fact that the town board does it? And you just mentioned Robert's rules. Can you identify where that is stated in Robert's rules?
Can you say where it isn't stated?
Yes. So,
Then I would be interested in your interpretation of the rules.
okay, I'll come back to that. But I'd like to hear from other people on the board.
I've spent a little bit of time researching it because it has been an ongoing issue. And I guess I don't understand, and maybe John, you could enlighten me, what the difference is between sitting here where we're allowed to have a voice and moving out there during the time that the community members are allowed to have a voice.
Because I'm not always allowed to have a voice. Because I am on many occasions told I can't, or I'm out of order, or something like this. If I would be able to speak from the public, the board wouldn't be able to stop me for 2 minutes to get my point across. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'd just like to go on a little bit further because in the research that I've done, which frankly, I think it's research that you probably should have done because you keep bringing this up to us. I cannot find anywhere that it says that board members should remove themselves from the board and go to the public. I've read under Robert's rules, and it's in the book itself. I don't know how it's stated, but in like the cheat sheets for Robert's rules, which are professionals that have interpreted Robert's rules, they say that it is not acceptable for board members to go out. And I still don't understand the reasoning. I know you say that you get shut down, but I don't see you getting shut down. And I'm in the same room with you every month.
Other comments?
I think there's sort of an interesting aspect to this that has to do with the power of the board versus the public comment section, which is allowed. You know what I mean? Like, so that there is public comment is the time that the public gets to tell the power center, if I may use that language, what their thoughts and ideas are regarding their concerns or their passions or their feelings about how the library is being run or ideas they may have for how to make it better. That's their time to speak to us and other board members about their ideas and their time alone. It's specifically not allowed for us to speak while the public comment section is going on. That is the whole point of it. It's the freedom of the public to be able to express themselves to us as a body. So to say that I could say, I'm gonna jump out of my role as a board member and address in the public comment section creates an imbalance, I think, to the time that is allotted for the public to speak to us. We already have, as Wendy mentioned, I believe, we already have many opportunities to express our opinions. We might not always agree with each other. I may not always agree with whatever someone might be saying on the board, but I have the right to, that person has the right to say what they're saying on the board, and we have a discussion and a back and forth about how we may or may not agree, or other ideas that we may have, or another way of looking at it, or something like that. But that's for the board, that's the board's time to have those discussions, and we have plenty of that. The public's comment time, in my mind, is for the public to tell us what they would like to see done, and I
Am I
think
not
it's
part of the
critically important. We are all part of the public, but not as board members in a meeting. As a board member in a meeting, our job is to listen to the public and take in what they're saying. And then we have our time in meeting time to discuss the things that we feel and think about, items that are on the agenda. That's, if there's something else that needs to be put on an agenda, we can request that to be put on the agenda for the next meeting. But we do not deny public speaking time so that we can then go out and talk as a public person, because we're already on the board and our position of power is stated by Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, I feel disenfranchised from that power. And I don't know if there is an illegal reason that's going on, but I just know that I do not feel to be an equal member of this board because decisions are made that go against me when, and the secretary can maybe look this up, I don't know when was the last time the four of you did not vote together. You say you have independent voices, independent thought, and yet it's almost like mind-numb robots, all four of you, all voting the same.
Point of order.
A point of order for sure.
That's,
Also, I would like to state that in the discussions, board members should have the opportunity to talk twice. You've had like 4 times that you've been able to discuss, so we're gonna stop that right now. If anybody else on the board would like to discuss this issue?
And where, may I ask,
No, you may not ask.
really?
No.
Really?
This is, we're going to move on with this discussion. Anything else from board members?
So you get to decide how long the discussion goes on?
Yes, I am going to discuss, I am telling you that in Robert's rules, you have a chance to comment on things twice. You've already had about 4. So I'm going to end that part of the discussion right now. Anything else from anyone? I'd like to just make a comment and you have,
My only comment is, I did a little research as well, and I could not find language in Robert's rules that specifically addresses a board member stepping outside of their role and speaking as a member of the public. It's not addressed. All of my online research, and I use the term very loosely, but my online looking, there was a pretty strong consensus that that's an inappropriate thing for board members to do. And admittedly, it's not addressed specifically in Robert's rules, but that is the consensus, and I did spend some time doing that. So, no matter what another board or body's decision is regarding whether they're going to follow that consensus, whether they think it's wise or not, that's up to them. That's up to the town chairman if he wants to allow that at his meetings. Here, it's up to the board, and conducting the meeting, it's up to the president as to how that meeting is conducted. So I think the power lies with the chair, unless there's a rule that the board makes that supersedes that. But that's how it works. So it resides in the chair. That's what I could tell from my looking online and from what Robert's rules says.
and I would just say that is consistent with the research that I have done, in that it's really, in my opinion, is up to the board to decide what they do about this issue. It's not specifically forbidden or even discussed in Robert's rules. So, I think the question is I am more than happy to make a comment about that as the board president, and I'm also interested in, you know, having, if we want to make a motion and a rule about this as a board, I'm happy to do that as well. It's whatever you would all like to do.
I don't think it's necessary.
Sorry,
Chip.
David? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I don't think it's necessary to make a rule.
Oh, I was just gonna ask on this, it says Robert's Rules of Order Public Comment handout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down on the bullet points, council members refrain from speaking during this portion of the meeting. So that's from Robert's Rules of Order, some.
That is from,
Guidelines.
I've included those from, that would be from a particular place. And so my opinion about that I've included there, it comes from a particular library board somewhere. And the same is true of the document for 50 guidelines for public comment. This is a really great document, but it also comes from the state of Washington in a particular place that talks about board members are not allowed to step down to take public comment during the period that amounts to, and it goes on and on and on. But that's not Robert's rules, that's a particular board has made that decision, and I think that's the same with that. So, is there any motion to do that? To make some kind of ruling on this? Is there any motion related to this at all? Okay, well, hearing no motion, I'm going to make the decision that we do not allow for board members to participate as a citizen to give comments during our public comment section.
May I ask where you have that authority?
No. I feel I have that through Robert's rules and through my job as the president of this board. Let's move on to the strategic plan review. Just a few quick things about that we talked about last month. I wanted to just take a minute to just check in with the board about that. So Jackie and I have been talking a bit about that, and I have a few points to throw out, and then I'd just like to hear from you about this. We're talking about having a date in February at some point, and if that works with the board, for being able to gather some people. We're working on finding a facilitator. We have not found a facilitator for that meeting, and this is to do the strategic planning. And that strategic planning would be two things. One is the long-range plan of finishing this year, which we have 2025, and then in addition to working on developing ideas for the next probably 3 years or whatever that group decides the length of that long-term plan should be. Another possibility that we've been discussing is, for one, involving the community. So, but with the encouragement of the board members being a part of that, I think would be really nice, but you can think about that as a board. But also involving some other people in the community to have input on the long-term ideas for the library here. And so I would say that that's probably 2 or 3 meetings. So if we need to consider it an ad hoc committee, that's fine, or a group of people who just get together to talk about that. Either way is fine with me as well. So we're working on a facilitator, thinking about a time in February, involving the community, maybe doing a survey along with that. Jackie had a really good idea too about maybe having a box in the library with people can put their ideas, or what do they envision, or what would they like to see, as well as maybe some kind of community survey before or during that time when this group would meet to be brainstorming. So just what are your thoughts? Does that make sense, or any other ideas before we kind of move forward and finalize some of those things?
I think it's always good to have as much community input as possible, since they're the ones who, it's everybody's library, so.
Yep, yeah.
As much input as possible is great. Plus, I think also taking leadership from Jackie's knowledge and base of experience in terms of long-term planning for libraries.
Question?
Yeah.
Do we have other libraries' long-term plans to use, to plagiarize?
Yeah, every library probably has some sort of a long-range plan, yes, and I could, request some from other libraries that were within the last year or so.
Did you think are well
Yeah.
around and
That's great, that's a good idea.
I think that's a great idea as well. We could definitely learn from that.
I'm not gonna use the word plagiarize.
No, I don't think we should do that, but we can definitely learn. And I really love the suggestion box idea.
Anything else on that topic? That's great, I mean, I think it would be exciting, it would be really a good thing.
I think
And
long-range
a lot of
planning
fun.
is extremely important and also very difficult.
Mhm.
But it's important.
Good point, and the world's changing very quickly, and so are libraries and everything else, so it's good to keep up.
AI.
AI, even AI is starting to change the world, and that's a discussion we just had at the county library board meeting, so. Okay, great. So let's move on to new business. So we have an item, that's entitled Robert's Rules. So John, you were wanting to put this on the agenda. What would you like to discuss about Robert's Rules?
I think it's already been discussed, and like I said, the deck was stacked against me, so I have nothing more to add at this meeting.
Okay. Let's move on to library audits. That was also something that you would like to have added to the agenda. What would you like to discuss?
Well,
about
I
that?
have concerns over the budget and how it seems numbers get moved and changed around. Maybe it's just my opinion, but that's what it looks like to me. And in the whole time I've been on the board, I never recall there being an audit just to make sure that we're all where we ought to be and that we know how money is being spent. And it would just seem to me to be a good business move to have an audit and make sure everything is as it should be. And I don't see what harm that could bring.
Comment?
Jackie, is there an audit that is done of libraries through Northern Waters or anything like that? Is there any kind of,
We have to fill out
Outside.
an annual report every year.
I'm sorry,
We have to fill out an annual report every year, and it lists where all our money is coming from, where all our money is going, as well as any circulation statistics, programs that we have, ages of programs, the number of people at the programs, what else is on that? And monies, where we get our money from, if we get it from the county, whether we get it from the state. So all of that has to be done, and the Northern Waters looks over our materials to make sure it all tallies in the sense that money coming in and then money going out and then money saved should all come together to be a certain figure. And if it doesn't add up, then we need to reevaluate why it's not adding up and go over the figures again. This then gets sent down to the state in March. So I should mention too this. So the February meeting, we'll need to have it approved by or before. Well, I have to check out if the 19th is going to be too late. But we have to have a board approval of the annual report, which opens up on the 22nd. So between now, the 22nd and the 19th, I have to have the annual report done. You have to see it, approve it, and then it has to go to Northern Waters, who then goes through it and then sends it down to the state, who then looks at it from the state perspective.
And then does that also get reported to the town board?
The
Cause we have our budgets and
Right,
everything, which has everything that we spend.
annual report is pretty much a public document, but I can be glad to, once it's been approved by the board, to send a copy to the town board, as well as, in the past, I've sent it to our county board representative as well. So it does, other people other than just the individuals here and the Northern Waters in the state do see it, or have an opportunity to see it.
Okay, so that would be as close to an audit as we have, is that financial information going to all of those people.
Yeah.
Can I just ask if you, just as a request to you, John, or anybody, like if you have concerns about specific instances that, data that you have, is to talk to Jackie about it. And, you know, if there are things that you've seen that you are wondering about, you should ask her about it. And then if there's something that does not meet your if you're not satisfied with it, you bring it back to the board.
And be shot down.
No, that's not necessarily true, and I don't appreciate that, kind of language. But if you have concerns, you should collect the data, be specific about it, and then bring it back to Jackie first, and then again, just bring it back to the board. That's why we have public library boards. And therefore the town board and the Northern Waters and the DPI, we have many layers of people and the county board representatives, so we've got a lot of layers to be looking over this. John?
My first comment doesn't count because you asked me a question, all right? So this is my comment. To me, that's.
Point of order, I would like a chance to talk before you get to make your second comment.
Even though I
Yep.
already started.
Yep, because everyone should have a chance to speak before we go
Thanks for
to the
interrupting.
second round.
I'm not a financial person at all, but my understanding of an audit is that it's an independent firm, agency, body that comes in, and they don't just look at the numbers and make sure they add up, don't they actually look at receipts
Oh,
and
yes.
bills
Yeah.
and things like that? And so that kind of control is not happening. If there hadn't been independent audits, I believe you.
I was gonna say, I will say that technically, I don't know if you call it an audit, but there is a auditor that comes and looks at all the books of the town. And the budget that the town has for the library is also examined. So when my bills come through them to be paid, they are looking at all those bills.
And that is an
That is an
auditor.
auditor.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, the town, it is a professional auditor.
Okay.
And that's a newer person now too, right?
Yes, that's a
That
new
has been
person
in the
too.
town, who's now, you know, really,
Yes, and the
Good.
old auditor was a little more, flexible on things. The auditor they have now in the last 2 years is very much cut and dry. It's black and white. There's no room for wiggling. And so he's, really, keeps an eye on a lot of all the accounts.
and that's also why we've added new, categories to our budget and so on, because he's wanting to have more specificity about our spending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I would just say, I think the quote, when John said that he was concerned money is being moved around in ways that are not whatever, that sounds like an accusation. Maybe it's not, but it had that ring to it, and I think it's important that if there is a concern of that sort of thing, that there needs to be some evidence presented. We can't just be
Okay.
making accusations that, saying concerned that money is being moved around when there's no documentation or proof that money is being moved around. I think we have to be very careful about the statements that we make about, you know, this sort of thing.
Any further discussion?
Am I allowed?
Yes.
Whenever there's a police shooting, they don't want outside people to investigate the police themselves. Everything I've heard sounds like the library will police itself. There has been controversy about Northern Waters in the past, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about the past, only the future, but it would just seem to me that an audit would prove that there is no further need for concern because it's just a good business thing to do. That's it. And there hasn't been one that I'm aware of that the board has been, had access to since I've been on the board. Just a way to recalibrate and make sure that things are, in fact, as squared away as people want us to think.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there any further discussion or action that anyone feels needs to be taken on this topic? I think we've had a fairly good explanation of how we're being audited now, and so if there's more that needs to be filled in, anybody?
The only thing I guess I would just like to say, we just stated that the town is audited. I would encourage you, John, to go talk to Mr. Sombranowitz or the treasurer of the town to verify that, because you don't believe us.
All right, thank you. Let's move on. Would you like to just take a minute at one of our last item for the digital navigator update? Just quickly let people know what that's about.
Sure. We now have a person named Eric. He comes to the library. He's gonna come to the library two Mondays a month from 10 to 3. People that have computer issues or technology questions, he will be here to answer them, as well as provide laptops, iPads, things for individuals to check out and use on. I'm not sure all the parameters, that hasn't been set in stone yet as to how that's gonna happen, but there's gonna be availability of technology devices to be used as well. He came Monday the 13th, and we had, it was very quiet today, but he helped make sure that I got my electronics all in order for for Saturday's movie, so that make sure that the sound is gonna be going well. He also is going to be doing a program the next time he comes on the 27th. In addition to being available for drop-in technology, at 1 o'clock, he's gonna give a program on how to avoid scams, deal with malware, all that kind of fun stuff. So he's gonna be talking about that as well. In addition to that, we have talked at the county level about possibly having more information presented about artificial intelligence, which is a big topic. So I mentioned it to Eric a little bit, and we're gonna be kind of trying to get some information out to the public on that in regards to what AI is, how it's already in our lives, how we can address it, the pros and cons of it, and all this kind of fun stuff. So that is what's coming down.
And what is the name of this person?
Eric Faber is his name.
Faber?
Yeah, Faber. We have him come through a grant that the county has. So he is coming to all the libraries in Bayfield County twice a month to do technology.
Great.
Digital navigator is what
Yes.
the
It's
grant
called
and
that,
the
yes.
program is called.
Awesome.
The things that get checked out to people, when is that going to happen? And then how do people know about that? Let's say that somebody doesn't have access to, and I mean, I think that's part of this grant, is
Right.
getting access to people who don't really have that kind of access, other than to just come in here and use a computer. But
Right.
so how's that?
Well, they were finishing up, they have some sort of a program that they can use, because they're gonna need to follow the usage of the devices, as well as how often they get used by whom and such like that for the grants finish. So they're getting that all together in line prepped. And then eventually, within the next month or two, I think he's gonna be able to have those available here. We will have a locked cabinet in this room for him to allow people to check out electronics of some sort or other. it's, all the details aren't quite set in stone because they had a delay because of the software they needed for following up with the electronic devices came in at a higher rate than was expected, so they had to go out and look for a different software that would provide the same information, and so that's finishing up, and that should be coming to fruition here within the next month, I would think, too.
And just one follow-up question to that is that is he going to be doing some things to promote it for, let's say, people that don't have access, or people, just informational things about what, speaking of AI or something, but like you get a laptop, what do you do with it, or how might you use it, or is there
Yes.
any kind of like informational workshops that he might do for the community?
Yes, he's gonna be doing some classes. This first one, which on malware, is gonna be his first one.
Okay.
And I think, you know, as people come in and we start getting ideas about what the community wants, he will probably be able to get a little more detailed in the facets of what type of technology people wanna know more about and understand.
What's the timeline for this grant? I know it hopes to get set up or started in the next month or so. How long is the grant for?
I know it's at least, I believe it's for at least a year, and if not mistaken, 2 years. He started, like I said, he just started this month, and I know it is, I wanna say it's 2 years, but I know it's at least 1 year that he's gonna be coming around, and I'm excited because we have, people come to us for technology help, and 99% of the stuff we can do, but there's always that 1% that leaves us like, not a clue. So we are really happy that he's here, so we can direct them to that location as well, so.
That's exciting.
It is, and you know, cause we can count on him to learn something new too, cause we have an individual here who is using Canva, which we use at the library here, but we use it as making posters of. Well, this person has taken it beyond that and is actually making music videos, putting music and pictures together, and she's asking us how to do this, and we're doing a lot of checking with Canva's help desk, because it is not something that we get a chance to do. And so when I talked to Eric about it, he said that he is not familiar with Canva, but he is more than game to jump on that bandwagon and see what it's all about and figure out how to do that as well, so that's.
Well, I'd like to second the idea that this is a terrific idea. If anybody knows anyone on the county board, we should thank them for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great program.
Yes, I think it'll be very good.
Okay, anybody, is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
For a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
Thank you, we have a second by Wendy. Any discussion about that?